Or are you in Canada?
No, right now Canada, so cold, cold,
Yeah.
cold. Yeah, it's about
Yeah.
-10 today, so it's freezing.
Oh, God, -10.
Yeah.
Wait, you're talking Celsius?
Celsius, but it starts to even out as you get colder, right?
Yeah, so you're probably what, like 20 degrees or something?
I'm always bad at the conversion. My
Yeah,
mind thinks in
me
Celsius,
too.
so yeah, unless it's 80 degrees, and that's nice.
So you look good, man. What's been going on? How you been
Well,
doing?
I've just been sort of, I think just being calm in the beginning of this year, just to sort of get settled and, just to sort of, I think just ease into the new energy, but
Yeah.
lots going on.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about, like this run into the end of 2021 and then into 2022. But I mean, we had what, like, I think what you had a 10-10 gateway. There was an eclipse in October. Then you got 11-11. Then you got another eclipse. And you got 12-12. And you got the solstice.
Yeah,
It just
it's
felt a lot of people just seem to have gone deeper than ever, but in a different way, like almost really like an initiation, like
yeah,
2022 is distinctly different regardless of what we're seeing out there, in the movie script.
yeah. Well said. I know I've sort of had visions about this last year that we just came out of, and I have to say, from the Lions Gate of August the 8th, that sort of portal right to December,
Right.
and especially in from the 12th to the 21st was a huge for me was a huge, I think, focus.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people, and I had talked about it with close friends for a long time, but I felt as long as we got to Christmas, just the 25th, we were good. So I feel like we've sort of arced around back into this new energy now, and we're bridging over into it, is sort of how I would explain it myself. And I've this year's been really different. Just I feel like I just took off my gas pedal January the 1st and really haven't done anything. I just wanted to just let nature sort of, we've had so much energy to get us here. I just wanted to kind of let the stream now take me. So,
Did you
yeah.
have did you have like that? You're right though, that 12-12 to 12-21 period, that was that was very distinctive. Did you have any stuff getting cleaned out? Anything coming up? Toward the end of the year, physically, mentally, emotionally. Like, did
Yeah,
it feel
huge.
like you were? Did it feel like you were being cleaned out?
Yeah, I actually have had, I mean, I haven't really shared this with anybody, but I've had headaches like crazy. Yep.
Yeah, I
And
was too.
it started in November actually. But there's this like whole thing on my would say like sort of my band around my head.
Hmm.
And it's been really interest sort of shifted. It's almost like a tingly, I don't even know, and it's headachy, but it's from the temples and like it's all around. So I've just been sort of trying to clean out sort of this sludge from the past, and
Yeah,
I think we're all feeling sort of some of those energies,
yeah.
um, in the collective.
So, I mean, I know you do the music. I mean, that's huge. Do you also pick up on collective information?
Yes, I do,
I
and
thought
I
you
don't
did.
really. Yeah, no, it's funny, like, I know, I am actually a medium, like, I have worked in that arena for a while, and I sort of just go with the flow of the collective the way that I've sort of been asked to share. And I haven't had to do much of that for quite a while, but I do feel, I mean, I do have that, I would say visionary sort of
Yeah.
thing that I think we all have. I think anybody that's sort of uniting in this circle, we're all sort of in that one, we're holding hands together. But it's interesting because I go sort of in and out of it, however sort of the flow sort of goes. And this year's really different because I feel like we're in this I've been in this I do not consent space right now. And I'm just holding this I do not consent to certain things that I'm not interested in. And I'm very much saying that to myself a lot. I think in my spiritual practice, I think just with the world right now.
Yeah.
And without going into those huge details, I do think that it's important that we remember the power that we have to say I do not consent.
Yeah.
And just saying that with your free will is very powerful.
Yeah. Speak that shift into existence, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Um, do you have a feel for 2022? I mean, do you feel any distinct differences between where we're at 2021 and prior? I mean, do you have any kind of feel for
Yeah,
what
so
this year holds?
this for me is really very obvious to everyone. That's really, if you just step back and just look at it, right away it's balance. It's 2, 2, 2, balance, balance, balance. And I think that two is a very powerful number because relationships are always in twos. And the relationship of oneself with another can never really be in threes. It's actually always just one soul with another. So I think it's really important this year for relationships to be very clean and clear with your relationship with yourself always first. And then every single relationship you have, I wrote down before I came on, and it's interesting that you're asking this because I tapped in, and the first thing that wanted to be said today is intention. And they wanted to share with me and you and everyone watching live or on a replay is that intention is 10 tenths of the law. And intention is a really powerful part of, I think, where we're at in 2022. And I believe and feel deeply that we're at the precipice of where our intention will reflect back heaven. And this is sort of all through, with your heart and your mind together as one, with your intention of your soul and our missions, individually and collectively. I think that that's what this whole year is going to be about myself.
You mean like in terms of like discovering our intentions or are going to be visible, basically?
Yeah, I think we're gonna
And
start seeing heaven reflect back to itself once we get clean and clear with our intention individually and collectively. And I think you're gonna see that really start to the energy is gonna start to speed up, is sort of, I think, what's gonna start to happen now. And we have to be really vigilant, I think, on our spiritual practice because we have to fill ourselves up with energy right now, and just be really, like, I think, just nurturing to our inner space. And I really, in my meditation practice, I like to bring energy into me. That's sort of my way that it works for me. Everybody has to find their own way, but I forget to do that sometimes. And I think we've been so drained, I think, by these times that we've been in, that we have to remember to fill ourselves up again. Um, yeah.
so, how do you? I'm going to have to get rid of a troll in a minute. How do you? How do you do that? How do you bring your energy back, or how do you bring your energy into you? Are you talking about like calling in all your aspects, calling in everything, just at a
Yeah. So I
conscious
like
moment?
Yeah, I think I really try to keep it simple where it's, divine love. I think divine love and divine omnipresence of that love in all aspects, just to really fill yourself with that divine light and that divine love that is, called that source. It's really interesting. I'm studying world religions right now, and it's really interesting. I was reading essentially this book, which I'm just going to share it with you. Why not? So this book right here is Houston Smith. It's World Religions.
I read that
This
book in the '80s. It had
this little book
it's a
right
good book.
now is
It's a very good
so
book.
beautifully written. And
Yeah,
I was reading about Taoism in particular today,
yeah.
and just fascinating to read this right now, I think. And just the the way that this is sort of, I think, even presented itself today. It's interesting that I actually chose a time for you to be here at 4 p.m., but you were already booked in that. And
Mm.
it was interesting, the six showed up, and that's 222 is the six. So the womb. And I just feel like we're sort of birthing into this new space together today. 7 days into the,
Yeah.
how seven's powerful.
It's
And
been a full 7 days too.
yeah,
That's a great book. I particularly like there's a section in there, and it's been 30 years since I read it, but
yeah,
uh, it talks about the primitive religions. I think
yes.
there's a section in there that talks about the primitive religions, and that was kind of opened some doors for me back in the late '80s because I had been studying the different religions and philosophies and stuff, but that that part of the book kind of opened doors to started getting into like the Maori and the Dogon tribe, and then of course the link between those primitive Aborigine and indigenous cultures that had contact
Mhm.
with other aspects that was far beyond mythology. So
Yeah, that's so cool. And I think this is where things get really interesting because I think we're bringing everything together now. And in reading this book, even just about the interfaith and the old Chinese sort of way has been fascinating too today in reading this and expanding on, I think, off planet, just this whole idea of what are we and why are we here is that big question. And it's exciting because we're not alone. And this beautiful sort of aspect of life and the chi or the energy is starting to show up to support us through these times in new and exciting ways. And it's why we all came. And I think that we all know it. And reality is shifting hugely right before our eyes. I mean, we're creating and co-creating now, and it's exciting. And a lot of people are losing the grip on what systems have been in place, and it's chaos. But what's beautiful is that it's also a rebirth, and this stuff is really interesting to me right now to read.
yeah, yeah. There's another one called "World's Great Religious Leaders," and it doesn't have the title that fits it, but I always had that one right next to it,
Yeah,
and it had a really good synopsis of all the different religions. Very well done. I know you've been involved in this lifestyle for a long time. You've been awake for a long, long time,
yeah,
and
yeah,
pretty involved in these communities and in your work and the music. You mentioned earlier about and I can relate. I'm sure everybody else here can too about consent.
yeah,
Uh, do you still struggle with it? Do you still get a charge? Uh, does it upset you? Uh, the
yeah.
things that are happening, uh, in let's just say in comparison to those issues that came prior to 2020 with the COVID.
100%. And actually, I think it's important to say, I think we talked the last time we talked, I found 2020 quite depressing and 2021 in particular as well. Like I have really had to work really hard to flex my light, let's call it, my love. And I think witnessing what we've had to witness is in many ways traumatizing. So it triggers us in many ways. And I know for me, I don't really get too washed up or depressed. I'm not sort of built that way normally, but I have found the last few years really, triggering and depressing. And I think for me, it's hard to feel that because I'm not used to it. And I think when when you're confined, I think what happens, I'm such a worldly person. I'm always, doing things around the world. So to have to really shut that down without knowing that that was going to happen, in my life was a really big, I think just a big space to sort of be in. And I think that goes for all of us. I'm not unique. I'm not special in that way. We
Yeah,
all do this, right? But what's interesting is I was asked to do this album last year. My whole last year was about creating this album, Spheres of Love. And this Christmas, I've had pictures coming to me from all over the world with people sending me photographs of them holding my album. And it's the hardest album I've ever done. Before sort of we jump head into it, the thing that happened is I recorded this in September of last year, which is the ninth month, and it was a full birth cycle to create this. And being in a studio during COVID was something I've never done. But what was really interesting, which I did not know, is I was recording where some of like Amy Winehouse recorded there, and like all these crazy people that have
wow.
transitioned were actually I felt them in the studio with me. And it was so weird because it was so isolated in a studio. And normally when you record, you're with your producer and you are touching, like you're working things through. And this was two isolated rooms. I had this massive studio to myself. And masks whenever you would leave and all this weird stuff, being in the studio. So what was really cool is I felt like I transcended this hard space into this album. So I feel like there's a healing of letting go of this, I think, depression almost in it. So it was a really interesting, energetic to put into that album, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds like the energetic pattern of what I was referring to earlier as we moved into uh, the closing of the year. Like I
yeah,
like the way you said you kind of like put all that into it and almost like left it or gifted it or one of the same. Do you feel like that you're going to move more back more into your natural nature, or do you feel like that 2 years of what you were describing that's kind of foreign to you, like the depression and such? Do you feel like that's kind of gone now?
yeah, I think what the way that I'm looking at this now is that I feel like I've been through that, and it's just like re-entering a new ascension cycle. There's a dark phase, right? Just like when my dad took his own life. I just look at darkness as just this space that we have to basically rise out of. And I've risen out of that by doing something positive with my intention, answering my call, my mission, which is writing actually music to help heal the world. That's actually my real supportive role, here energetically, vibrationally, to support the heart and the soul with support and kindness from the inside out. And I think what's really cool is people are starting to, I think, get that now even more, that I've been doing this for a while. And the best part is I feel like I sort of understand it now. So I feel like I'm just rising up again, to answer your
Mm.
question. And
Yeah,
we're all
yeah,
rising out of this sludge.
yeah. Well, I mean, as the individual goes, so goes the collective. So just
Yeah,
looking for signs, because I think that's a pretty powerful thing that you said about 2020 and 2021. I think a lot of people could relate.
yeah.
Uh, and then but to kind of package it, and I guess in a way you owned it, and you just also had that shareability to it, and put it out in September. That's a pretty powerful thing. I know you're in a partnership, and I know, and aside from that, um, I guess that's kind of one and the same, in a partnership. But what I'm trying to say is, or ask about, is over this 2 year period, um, did you find yourself in a lot of solitude and private time, with or without your partner? I mean, just was I want to say the rest of the world kind of at an arm's length? A lot of people have talked about the solitude, and some chose it and some didn't, and so on. But has that been a factor?
Yeah, I think what's interesting in relationships, again, everything is sort of shifting before our eyes, and we have to sort of, I think every day, one of my favorite things to do in my practice as well is to sleep. So in my relationship as well, like I feel like when we go to bed at night, the most important thing to do is to rest your head and leave this space and hard parts of the day. And I make a point of being very, very much in my relationship in that way, because I think that right now, because the world is the way that it is, I feel like when we sleep, we're actually recharging the entire part of our life. And so in our relationship, that's something that I think is really sacred, is sleep. And that ritual, like that space before you go to sleep at night, that's really important, to be really in between the consciousness of those states. And then when you wake up in the morning, to really tap in before you get out of bed, to feel the massage of that space when you wake up.
Yeah,
And before you rush into your day, sit in that space just for a little bit to feel what's coming through. And those two portals of going to sleep and waking up in the day are so vital, I think, right now in our own relationship with ourselves, but also in our partnerships. And I make a point of that, and it keeps us sane, I think.
yeah. No, that's a good point. I mean, we're all familiar with that space, like where you're half in and half out, or where you're trying to wake up and you're dreaming, but you're conscious of you know what I mean? Um, and I think I've never really heard anybody say what you just said. And I've thought about it in regard to the waking up, you know, more so, because I guess, always have kind of been conscious of, connecting as you go to sleep, even since you're a little kid, right? But the waking up part, like a few months ago, like most of us, I got the phone next to me on the nightstand. And one morning I woke up realizing that as soon as I woke up, I'm checking my messages or checking, and I just decided to try something different. And I
Yeah.
was amazed because it sounds, I'm not the most conventional, or conformist type. And but I would get up and I would just lay there, and there wasn't what was my dream. There was a little bit, I guess, but it was more like you said, it was just like, oh, I'm going to stay with this feeling, and kind of just hang here for a few minutes. And then I started like doing gratitude affirmations,
Yeah.
which, which they worked, and I noticed this shift in spending 5, 10, 15 minutes, and I've spent as much as 2 or 3 hours in that
Yeah.
space. Not very often, but there was just an amazing uh, evidence in taking 5, 10 minutes of staying, not detaching from that, what we call dream state, from that part of our experience. And there does seem to be a direct connection between taking that time and the carryover from what occurs. Even though I may not be able to tell you explicitly what happened in this lucid dream, but there's a certain feeling, like a knowing or a sensitivity, that seems to be stronger since I stopped picking up the phone first thing, because that's I wasn't even aware of it until I
Well,
started
and
doing it.
just you even saying this, you know what's coming to me right now,
Mm.
just to even say or to reflect on that's I feel like it's just coming through to say out loud, is this is the first like you've been doing this for, since probably this year started, sharing space with people. This is actually the first space that I've shared with
Oh,
anybody.
wow. Wow.
So I just realized that something just happened where I feel like actually like a connection just happened. And this, I feel like we're all just grounding this massive energy from, I think, you do it probably and have done it every day this year, but I just realized like we're just grounding these massive energetics into, I think, co creation now with our free will united in our pursuit of actually creating heaven on earth, call it whatever you like,
Mhm.
the good
Yeah.
stuff. And I think that this is what they've known for a long time. They knew that this was coming, which is why all of this dark stuff has been really trying to, have its way. And it's
Right.
not love is already won. We're already here and now we're co-creating. And it's that space, I think that holy space that you're talking about just
Yeah.
is just rising up together.
Yeah. Well, I think, I mean, I think everybody can relate to it, because it can be gotten to in meditation.
Yeah.
There's other ways. I mean, but going to bed and waking up, those are two spots that I think we can all know that we have to go through that corridor.
Yeah.
But yeah, and what you said too, uh, yeah, I noticed it. I think we actually noticed it on the 28th of December.
Mm.
Like, that period you were talking about, like, we make it to Christmas, we're going to be okay, right? And then we kind of came out of it, and then all of a sudden, boom. And
Yeah.
I think, because hanging around Morgan, she tends to get things a few days early. And I guess because I've been hanging around her so much, I start to get them with her. But because I noticed what we, became aware of on the 28th, and a couple other people I talked to actually used that date. But I noticed it in my work. I noticed it on the first and the second, like people posting and making videos and what they were referring to and what they were commenting on the show and what they were talking about on the show. But it was very much like what you talked about to me.
Mm.
Like there was a 4 or 5 day period, and then it like stopped. And then you were kind of sitting there going, almost like, not what just happened, but like getting used to
Yeah.
what this other side of this is, because things seem to be a whole lot different everywhere I turn. And
Well
as
said. I like the way you just said that. That's felt really good to just even be a witness to that. Um, yeah, I think that we're gonna get it really. I always feel like January is sort of this empty space. I always don't my birthday's in January, so after Christmas, then January, I always feel a little bit sort of void. I call it January is like the void. So I always don't really know how to, like, enter into it, but this particular void, I think we get a little wobbly when it's new, like that void, and I
Mhm.
think you can start to feel it really stabilizing now, and, I think that it's really powerful to even just say that out loud because we have been through a lot these last few years,
These
and
last few lives.
yeah, I think for
Yeah,
a while,
it's been
let's
a hell
just
of
say,
a ride.
and we're
Uh,
prepared, we're all prepared to be here together now and really flex our collectiveness, and, the best is yet to come, and we're cooking with gas now, you know?
yeah. Yeah, and I think too, yeah, it's a good point, about what you said about, well, we've been through a lot, and, there's been so much, and rightfully so. It's part of the human experience, the
Yeah,
projection back and forth, and and the stuff you see, in the communities and everywhere else. It's just the way it is. But this whole, I don't know, like this cohesiveness that's occurring, like this collaboration type of frequency, in an organic way. These things that are falling away, that by the time you try to figure it out and talk about it, it's already 10 more falling away and 10 more coming in the door. So
yeah,
it's a really kind of a fast moving thing. But I guess what I was going to say is that, another thing that's apparent is that whole kind of like, we can stay in our own lane now because everybody's got this. Everybody has the
yeah,
ability, and I think one of the ways that that's been evidence in the last few months is actually to see people, to see it in people, and because it's not always so easy to see it in ourselves, but to see it in people. You see a lot of people's energy really lightening up,
mhm.
regardless of what they've gone through, like what, the tragedy that you went through with your dad. And you know what I mean? I mean, it's like, even talking to you from a few months ago, it's nice to see a mirror that's transforming and evolving, and I see more and more of it out there.
That's really beautifully said too. It's funny, like, just even, like, I don't know why, but I keep looking this it's sort of a funny thing behind me, this picture, and my husband, okay, so he took this picture,
It's a nice
and
picture.
he wanted me to wear this shirt, and it's "I love you," and it says it right here, so "I love you."
Uh,
It was the most interesting thing, just getting this. It's for my birthday, so it came early, which it wasn't supposed to come until later, but it came early, and he really wanted to hang it here. So he's sort of in this energy, which he's not been, even in this. And I sort of feel funny with it behind me, but before even coming on today, I just thought, at what point do we get to just reflect back that we actually get to love ourselves? And
mm,
I work at this every day to love myself. It does not come naturally to me. And I feel really weird being public at times with this image and all of these things that come at me. It's not really natural for me in this way, but I'm getting used to just starting to like what I see in the mirror,
yeah.
um, more and more. And we're all I think sometimes, I think it was Elizabeth Gilbert. She said, "Take the knife away from your throat." Like, I've had a knife sometimes at my own throat, just self-ridicule. And I
Yeah.
think what's really cool is I'm starting to just settle into the fact that I get to sort of be whoever this version of me is. And I don't know what that is really, but it's it's the best thing I can do, and I will always do my best, and if we do that, then I think all just falls into these beautiful new co-creative spaces, and it has to start with loving yourself first. I really am firmly in this position to say that, and I think it's powerful when we actually sort of admit it to ourselves too, and I don't think it comes naturally to most of us. I think we've been indoctrinated with self-hate.
Yeah. Even those that have a high opinion of ourselves, that was built on false pretenses.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
really built on the external. things that we perceived or that were told to us. But yeah, I guess that's another way to say what I was saying is you're seeing demonstrations, divine demonstrations of walking, talking, living, breathing mirrors that are coming into a higher, a higher awareness of themselves. That
Yeah.
you could say one or another could be explained as a higher quotient of love for themselves. And all
Yeah.
the things that go with that. Appreciation and gratitude, respect.
Humility,
Honor.
all of those
Yeah,
things too, for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
So,
Compassion. Yeah.
so you were, yeah, compassion's huge.
Yeah.
I think if I and I'm not one of those, like that taps into stuff like that. But to me, that would, if I had to pick one thing, that would be what's up for 2021 is 2022 is compassion.
Yeah.
Like, we think we know what compassion is, we say the right things, but what are we? How are we going to look at those antagonists? Uh, that have contributed to this experience from the other side of the spectrum.
Yep.
If they get arrested, or if this happens or that happens, you know, how are we going to respond?
Mhm.
Are we going to cheer, one side or another? Or are we going to stand in the middle and accept both equally? And and I know that that's a big part of the humility uh, initiation, is to accept both polarities in equal fashion, and you can't fake that.
Well, I was just in a spiritual retreat right before Christmas that I'm invited
Mm.
to every year, and I met this man, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's a new person that came in, and he wrote me a message, and he was in this retreat, but he actually did this film that's quite, I haven't seen it yet, but it's quite famous, I think, or being noticed, and it's his statement in it is, we have to love the bully too. And it's interesting because that's that compassionate sort of approach. And I think if we can do that, that transcends this mess. And I think that we have to find a way to sort of, you know, build these bridges that we have to come up with energetically with compassion right now. And, it's up to us to do that.
Yeah.
And I think just, that damnation stuff, like, for me, is so far from where I wanna be, and
Yeah.
it doesn't solve any problems, it just creates new ones, and we need to solve our problems right now. So,
Yeah.
I think that's that compassion.
Yeah, I like that, the damnation program, because
Yeah.
the one thing about that, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't
No,
feel good for ourselves.
it's
It
not our
doesn't even
natural state.
No, it doesn't even feel good when there's an antagonist that's, that it's, you know, which it's not. I was going to say, which is clearly this person is evil or wrong or whatever. Yeah, I mean, this is like warp speed as we get into
Yeah, somebody just
2022.
wrote in I focusing on it, somebody just wrote non-duality, and that's exactly what it is that
Yeah,
non-duality,
yeah,
approach, and that's that compassion.
yeah. Well, non-duality is a 0 point field, isn't it? I
Yeah,
guess when you think
0
about
point
it.
field, 100%.
Yeah, what was I going to ask you about? Oh, I know what I was going to ask you about, because I don't remember from the past shows. But you had mentioned that you checked in before the show, and I'm always curious about what that looks like for people. Everybody's different. I'm different, and I have different experiences within the experiences of my own life or whatever. But like, who's your team? Are you
Well
speaking to one singular voice? Are you? Is it a galactic feel? Is it an angelic feel? I know you're very connected to the angelics.
Well, here's the thing. So all of my work, and I use the word God.
Yeah,
It's the only thing that explain. I also call God the beloved. I have a lot of names for God, but that's really my all and my everything. So that's all encompassing. So in that, there's many. I mean, I've had a lot of galactic experiences. I don't always share them publicly because I feel like it just can confuse things for
yeah,
people.
yeah.
But when I agreed to do what I do musically, I had one of the greatest experiences galactically that I've ever had in my life, where I had an applause of billions and trillions of beings with me. So I feel like in my collective, I feel like I have a set number. I feel like I have Louise Hay with me. I do feel like I have Wayne Dyer with me. These people commune. I'm a medium. These people, have a voice that is with me, and Maya Angelou. But all of that is first with God. So that's sort
Right.
of my
Right.
structure. But in this message today, I will say it again, it's intention. And I think it's really important that we understand that, possession is 9/10 of the law, but intention is 10/10 of the law. And I feel like when you have an intention from your heart and from your soul with goodness, it is
Yeah.
very powerful to expand externally. And I think we all need to. I never really used to understand intentions before I started doing this work. But when you have an intention and you put it outside of yourself, it becomes a co creation of goodness, and something else will link up to it and it will just expand. And we have to keep doing these expansions right now and just bringing it together. And that was the vision and the message within that space before I came on. So even just the opportunity to say it again.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about Star Family and Galactics. In different contexts. Everything from they're going to come save us to visitations to intel transmissions, downloads,
Yeah.
uh, planet planets of origin, star systems of origin.
Mhm.
Do you feel like that the galactic presence uh, is expanding, or in other words, becoming more involved, or you know, does it matter, or is it staying the same? I mean, do you feel like that's a part of our experience that we're going to see?
I do.
Maybe. Do you really? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. And let me just tell you, okay, so let me just tell you a couple of stories. I feel like good with this.
Yeah.
So I have been finding diamonds for a long time, okay? And before I had my experience with my father, and I've shared this publicly as well, but I have a premonition when I'm going to find a diamond. And then I know to look down, and I know that there'll be a diamond at my feet or around me. So I think I've found 6 so far.
Are you serious?
Yeah, really. And actually, my husband has been with me when I was recording. I found my second diamond, my album Worthy. And I told him that I was going to have this experience of finding a diamond. He was like, "You're crazy. You're crazy, crazy, crazy." And I was like, "Well, okay." As soon as we went out the door, there was a diamond by the elevator. Now, I say this too because going back to the galactic side, I actually found a diamond where I actually saw my most beautiful diamond that I have is an oval, and it was found exactly where I saw an orange orb, an orange round space orb. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if they're angels. Like I don't know. I don't have the answers to what the orange orb was, but what was very interesting to me about this is that I was so excited. It was in the parking lot of a grocery store. My husband and I saw it together, so it wasn't just me. Both of us saw it. And what was really interesting is the way it flew away. I was so excited, and this is before I was awake per se, but I went home and was probably like maybe like a 5-minute drive from, where we were at that time. And I went home and went outside all night and just watched the sky. But there were these two silent jets doing figure eight formation, flying all around looking for this thing. And I just say this because I think we need to remember that, we have so much to experience in our life. And, I'm open to be really, quite frankly, an ambassador for, I think, just ultimately divine love from this earth. And I'm welcoming the ability to even say that out loud with
Yeah.
you. And I know that that experience it's almost like they were showing me at that particular time. I felt this connection to me. It knew what I was about, and it knew this moment. And I just recorded in an orange studio. The color of it was even premonition of my space, of this orange space that I'm in right now. And this orb, spheres of love, it's all about this whole experience with this galactic. And I know it was loving and kind, and it was there to support us, and I know that we're not alone. I mean,
Yeah.
what an awful waste of space, as it's been said, right? Like, it's logical to, simply just think that we're alone is so egoic.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's hell, we don't even have to get out off the ground
Mm-mm.
or out of into the outer atmospheres to
Yeah,
find.
and it's so exciting. I'm excited about that part of actually why and what we're here to experience, and I welcome that, and the sooner the better, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Um, so, like this thing with the diamonds, have you ever have you got any more information on that? Is there a reason that you're the diamond collector? I mean, are they facilitating or collaborating, like say, like the same way that crystals might do? That people,
Yeah, so I've taken them into the light and actually taken pictures of them under the light to get the holograms. And I feel the thing that's very interesting about the diamond part is I feel very much that I'm part of the Diamond Light Council. I've said this publicly. My first real album that was a proper produced album is actually called Diamond Light, and I think it has a lot to do with our DNA, and our ability to hold light in a carbon-based environment. So very much bringing that light into our DNA and really allowing it to be illuminated, and both sides of the helix, like that spiral helix,
right,
um, and really connecting that to our highest self to be and manifest. That really structural sort of ability to bring in that really, quite frankly, diamond light code. And I'm not the only person to talk about this. Our beings hold divine love, divine light,
right.
and yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. Do you are you in speaking to that and taking it a little bit further? Are you and or your partner or even other acquaintances or closer people that are closer to you, are you noticing or seeing any evidence of that transformation in terms specifically of the physical body?
Yeah, I think we're in this space now where I think we're going to be able to sort of shift a lot. And this is the year, like one of the things, just as you're saying this, I feel like this year is the great shift. I think Wayne Dyer knew, he had the movie The Shift, but I think all of that has been allowing us to get to this part. This is the great shift. This year is how I feel. And I think that we're going to start to see, to answer your question, I think we're going to start to see and experience some of those amazing metaphysical sort of aspects to our beingness. And, I read recently that nothing's really supernatural. Everything's just natural.
Natural, yeah.
So
We're just going back to our natural nature.
yeah, exactly. So, and it is super, but it's just because it's beautifully natural. Yeah.
Yeah, it's what's beneath all the stuff.
Yeah, exactly. The sludge of some of the
It's
stuff.
like we never went anywhere. We just piled a bunch of stuff on ourselves.
Yeah. Well
So
said.
yeah, yeah, it is. It is moving so fast. I just there's just it just would only make sense that as within without
Yeah.
that we would, and I guess we are really, really seeing rapid change. Even though we might think of rapid change as, oh, we're going to go clean the ocean, or oh, we're going to divulge the cure to cancer, or we're going to divulge secret space, but it's actually, uh, you know, I guess, getting big doses of the truth and, understanding how much we don't know. But I mean, it's just, I guess what I'm trying to say, it's not always comfortable
No.
as these things come up, just like it wasn't comfortable and isn't comfortable for us to face our own stuff.
Yeah. I know the thing that I do want to just mention that I feel sort of at this time, I think it's important, and I don't think a lot of people are talking about this.
Mm.
We need to start thinking in frequency. we need to start thinking in vibration, energy, and all of that goes to that light quotient that you mentioned.
Yeah.
But a lot of us have been out of tune. And I know that one of my jobs doing this work within music, and I know a lot of people get stuck up on like like the megahertz conversation. It
Right.
doesn't matter, actually, is really how I want to sort of say this. It doesn't matter because your pure energy is imperfect. It's all the frequencies. It doesn't
Right.
matter.
Right.
So the thing that I actually record in a 440 scale. I do it on purpose because I like the double digits of the 440. I think it's very powerful. There's lots of people that say that it's negative. I don't feel that way. It's all about triads and harmonies. So we are now needing to be in harmony, and that means that we have to get into tune with ourselves, and that means that that tuning and that frequency has to reach, quite frankly, source, as that oneness. And I feel like us in our humanity, our brothers and sisters, need to also be in harmony. And that means something that's where we get to use our notes and our instruments, that we don't have discordal energy.
Right.
And this frequency idea is really important because when we start thinking in frequency, that energy and that bandwidth shifts hugely, and our ability to just tap in to
Yeah.
the collective. So I just wanted to mention that, if anybody wants to go on an ascension ride, I have 8 albums to help, and they go in order of sequence of years of ascension. So you can go back to like 2011, and that's Blessings from Above, which is that as above, so below sort of vibration.
Mm.
Then you go into Worthy, self-worth. Then you go into Diamond Light, which is that code that I talked about. And then all of my albums sort of go in that ascension space to be your highest self and manifest. And my job is to sort of help people, I think, tune into their own heart, their own soul. And all of my words and vocals and intention is to support the heart and the soul with love, divine love. So something happens when and people don't understand music is really important because it's the only thing that gets inside of us that way. So if you can close your eyes even and listen to some music that's conscious music, even if you like Snatum core or any high vibrational frequency music, it really reattunes the body, I think, and the light sort of can really sort of shine.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to be said in that. Part of it being like, it's almost like as the days go by, the world will get quieter and quieter by conventional terms. Like, in other
Yeah.
words, we'll be talking less. And then what you said about the frequencies and the sounds, and you had mentioned intentions earlier. It's kind of hard to play a C note when you're blowing into the instrument, the flute or whatever. uh, you can't. In other words, there's no incongruency between the thought and the sound. So there you go back with the intentions. And I've always felt like music is a universal language. I mean, that's there's just something about it that you don't have to you don't have to think.
Yeah.
And and I think now that so many people are expanding their their expressions, what they're receiving, into ways other than just speaking. uh, we're starting to get into some really, I wouldn't say like virgin territory, like new code. Like,
Yeah.
how do I take this that I've received and express it in ways that have been atypical until now? You're seeing all kinds of graphic stuff going on, like light language turned into glyphs, into different images, and then also the kind of like the remixing or renewedness of like a light language coming back, and then someone's got a beat on it, and there's just all kinds of uh, things that are happening both from the individual and from these collaborations.
Yeah,
So
there's so many things, like even just like I remember the first time that I experienced like sort of a gong bath, or like
mm,
that vibrational bath with a gong. Like that was amazing. And it was this beautiful woman that like I just love things where even like where you can see the pattern of a mandala on a speaker, where you actually see patterns. Like, we are vibrations, we are those things. So that stuff really, actually, it's part of, it's part of the matrix of life. So when it has those intentions, I mean, those songs, I mean, I can cry instantly if I hear a beautiful piece of music.
Mm.
And it doesn't matter, actually, is because you can feel, you're open in your heart to feel it, and we're emotionally intelligent beings. So I really think that you're going to start to see art, this huge renaissance of art,
Yeah.
starting to
Yeah.
really just keep going.
Yeah, because so many people, if you look at so many people, when I got involved in these communities in earnest, in 2013, like the amount of people that weren't artists in their own mind, including
Yeah.
myself,
Yeah.
uh,
Right.
right? I mean, who all of a sudden, I mean, I'd always written poetry in my life, but there was something else happen, and I've seen this happen with so many people,
Mm,
that they never painted, or they never wrote poetry,
yeah.
or whatever the situation is. I
And
met
boom.
someone, yeah,
Yeah.
right, and they just come out and they're just like, they're off the hook. I
My
saw,
husband was really, I just want to say, my husband was hilarious the first time. So I went to, like, I mean, I was working at Hewlett Packard and like was a call center manager at one point when I was, when we first were married, okay? And the thing that's funny is I will never forget, when I brought home my first album that I recorded to my husband, and we were listening to it because he didn't come to the studio with me, and he didn't really. I didn't play for like the first 10 years of our marriage, really. Like, I didn't play music, but
really,
and so it's so funny. I remember playing it for him, and he's like, "This is you," and I remember just sort of going like, "Yeah, this is me." And he's like, you sang this?" And I remember his face being so surprised that that was me. But 11 years now past that moment, it's so, it's just become our normal life, actually, which is wild. That I had no idea that my life would look this way, as I'm sure I mean, none of us do, right? Like,
right.
and it's part of the exciting, I think, times that we're living in, is that we get to sort of become these people that we had no idea we are.
Well,
And
see,
here we are.
that's what I was. We had a great discussion with a new friend on the previous show, and he really had it. He had a full blown, Buddha experience in the mid '80s. And he's probably not. I know he's not even 60. And but anyway, so he was just talking about, I am, the whole reality. I am nothing. I'm everything. Uh, you know, Very similar to some of, like, say, the Eastern types of explanations.
Yep.
And I always go back to this thing, and I was talking to him like, well, I get all that, right? Like, because you hear that, and it's about, okay, well, you just got to, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this, because it all is you, kind of thing. But yeah, but what about between here and there? Like, that's actually our natural nature anyway. So that's me. That's where I'm coming from. So why would I be coming back to where I'm going when I've never left where I came from, kind of thing. But anyway, to kind of like sum it up, I get to be Todd, or you get to be Paul.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's something about that. You know how they say it's not the destination, it's a journey. I mean, there's something about taking this awareness and this reverence and this newfound higher alignment of self-love, and all the different ways to explain it. There's something about applying it to yourself in this form, which is not just you, right? But I mean, there's something about it. It's that paradox. It's that, no, this is nothing, but it's everything, kind of thing. This is our chance. This is our chance to shine. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, these like, I think that paradox is such an interesting thing, because it's also admitting all of, I think, the crap that we've been to,
Mhm.
and that weird juxtaposition to sort of become that whole. And when we're whole, like, it's so interesting how and what can show up for us. And I just think even just the fact that, the fact that you and I have met this way, and, we've had a few conversations together now, and it's sort of like you're sort of with me, but you're not with me, but I know you. And
Mhm.
if you just stop and think about the fact there's 8 billion people, but I know you, and
Right,
we're having this conversation, we're sharing it and amplifying this divinity
right.
of honoring each other equally, for the beauty that you are and I am, and what I would say is the namaste, which can heal the world,
Yeah,
is a powerful reflection, and that's heaven. Like, I would never want to hurt you. You would never want to hurt me. I have no intention to do anything but love you. And I think it's great that two men can have a conversation without any worry of that. And
yeah,
this is what can happen when we love.
yeah.
And here we go. And let's just keep it going. And it's exciting because I think that just imagine if children witness this instead of a hostile man, hating
Mm.
on another. And we are going to turn the ship around.
It's turning.
Yeah,
It's
it's
already
turning.
turning. It's
Yeah.
already turning. There's a bit of a delayed reaction. Did you wanna do anything before we got out of here? I just
No,
wanna you
I'm
don't
good. The
okay.
only thing that I did wanna mention, if anybody's interested, I am offering a Heal Your Life class, which is Louise Hay's work.
Mhm,
And I just wanted to mention that just if anybody resonates with it. And I'm running it. It's a 10-week course. It's $288. And
mhm.
I'm saying it just because I'm happy to hold people in the space of self-love. Having my father take his own life, I think it's really important right now that we talk about everybody. I hope stays on the planet that's needing to stay here right now, and self-love is really important. So I'm running this for 10 weeks, and it's going to run until March the 26th, I believe. And it's just every Saturday for 2 hours if you're interested.
Wow. So that's 10 weeks, you said?
Yeah, for Heal Your Life. And if you wanted to, you can go to connect with me on Facebook. Just look up my name, Luftenegger, or Be Kindness. So beekindness.com is my website. And I'm happy to, if there's anybody that can't afford it to, like, I will, I'll figure something out for you. It's really not about money. I just need to make money. So that's why I charge it. But if you can't afford it to, by all means, I'm happy to have you, if that's
Right
something
on.
that would help you. Okay.
Yeah, right on. I
Yeah.
appreciate it, Paul, man. Best to you and your partner.
Thank you. You too.
You guys keep on plugging. Thank you for what you're doing, and, I'll see you sometime later in 2022.
Sounds great. I love it. And just, stay in touch, and God bless everybody. Take good care of yourselves, everyone. Okay.
Thanks, Paul.